I am Michelle with two L's, and I am one half of Force of Entertainment. Unfortunately, last week I was a little under the weather. That's why Natalie wasn't here. And then this week she's feeling a little under the weather, so she's not going to be here with us again this week. But we should be back to normal by next week. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I brought in our brother Michael to discuss chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett. Michael, how are you doing?
Good. I think I'm kind of becoming the regular for the Boba Fett bits anyway.
Yeah, I think you are. You definitely have been. And so we'll go ahead and get into this. You guys know that me nor him have really enjoyed this show that much. So Michael, what did you think? What were your initial thoughts of this episode, chapter 4?
Chapter 3, I had said I thought was a little better. I think
I did
no,
too, and then a lot of people didn't seem to think that. I don't know.
yeah, I thought it has. 1 was very bad, 2 was a little better, 3 was probably at least on par with that. I would give this one another kind of a step down because again, just so much of it was spent in kind of pointless backstory that we know Boba Fett at this point. I think there was just different expectations, at least for 60-70% of us, that we thought we were going to get a progressively moving storyline, because we got reintroduced to Boba Fett already in Mandalorian. Yeah. So give us a little bit of what happened and then let's move on. But it's clear that's not their idea. They're spending basically the whole series circling back and then just giving us a little bit of the new story.
Yeah, definitely. And my initial thoughts on this episode, I probably enjoyed this episode the most, but that's not saying tons at this point with this show. And as Michael was saying, the same issues I've had are still there, because this was a longer episode and I think more of an entertaining episode for the most part. Some of the action, the things going on, it just goes back to what you were saying though, that as soon as the show starts, the BAFTA tank, and we're like, oh, we're going back to another flashback, and we spend the first like half of the episode in a flashback of picking up from Mandalorian after Fennec was shot and seeing Boba's side of that story. And it's kind of like you said, we don't really need all that information. What this show is kind of feeling like, and again, I actually thought this episode in many ways was more entertaining to me than the others. But had they actually just started with this episode and given us, I guess, shown us how he got out of the Sarlacc pit and then started with this episode, it might be better. But this is the 4th episode. And at this point, I'm just kind of not beginning to feel, I feel like they just don't really they didn't have enough of a story to create this series, is kind of where I am this far in.
Yeah, I don't think they did. And no. What you were talking about with the backstory, I think I could fix that like super quickly.
Yes.
Fennec, let's go to Count of Monte Cristo. As he escapes from, if you're not familiar with that movie, that's fine. But as he escapes from the prison, he has to fight that one, guy to the death, and he spares his life. And so that guy says, I'm yours. That's all that had to happen with Fennec. All we had to see is that he saved her life. And then she like has this assassin code loyalty that she's like, you know what? You saved my life. We're going at this together. Period. End of story. We didn't have to see the rest of it. We didn't have to see how 1 minute she's kind of like, yeah, I'm doing my own thing. My debt's paid. Then the next minute she's like, well, where are you headed? I might tag along a little longer.
Yeah. I agree. It could have been done. And that's kind of how I assumed it was. And then we got a little different story. I mean, for things I enjoyed out of this show, guys, I enjoyed, the whole, the Jabba's palace thing, like that was, at least more interesting action than we've got thus far. But yeah, as you're saying, the story itself, again, in the present day, we've moved at a snail's pace, and really it's kind of like the story just feels so not well written that they're just trying to force their way into this big battle. that clearly the Mandalorian is gonna show up either next episode or an episode 2 away to help. Um, but at this point, it kind of feels like, because that was one of the few things that truly like I enjoyed, was like hearing the Mandalorian's music. It was like, oh yay, the Mandalorian. But it's not a good sign when the thing I'm most excited about in a show is someone else coming into that show from another show.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Disney could go ahead and just market this product as, we didn't really care, and you
Yeah.
probably won't either. You know,
Yeah, that's kinda how it has felt, and again, in many ways, I enjoyed this episode more than the others. At least it was some kind of exciting action, or kind of exciting action,
Mhm.
but it's just kind of, at this point, guys, the show just is where it is, and I don't even have that much hope that the last couple episodes are gonna get that much better at this point, because the groundwork's not been laid of a really good story to get a good payoff at the end.
No, and there's nothing pulling you along, in my opinion. You know,
Yes.
The Mandalorian, you could certainly point out its weaknesses. You could certainly point out, like, you know, some things were not perfect, but there was still that common that it was pulling you to, like, okay, where's this going?
Yes.
There's been nothing at this point, other than after episode 2, I wanted to see, okay, well, where are they going with the story? But now, after 2 more episodes of not really going anywhere with the story, there's just been very little to pull me along and want to tune in the next week. And I think that's sad, because I think that they could have done quite a bit with
Yeah.
Boba Fett, even though I'm not like a huge Boba Fett fan.
Yes, and I think what makes it kinda worse is they were marketing the show before it came out as all killer, no filler. And thus far, this whole show to me has been just filler. Like, it's just kinda been a bunch of stuff happening in Boba's life, all for the purpose of getting us to this one big battle. Like, that's it. But the problem with that is, if we don't enjoy the journey of getting to that battle, what's the point? And that's kinda where we are right now.
Is that really how they marketed it? Like, it was going to be all killer, no filler?
That was a quote from Rodriguez. All killer, no filler.
I would be interested to see if maybe Kathleen Kennedy exerted herself a little more in this. And I'm only saying that because it's bad. And most of the things
It's
that
not good. Yeah.
most of the things that she touches are bad. And Filoni had done a good job, I think, with Rebels, as we talked about. And Favreau, I think, did a good job with um, Mandalorian. And so, who knows? Maybe Kathleen is resenting that, and she just can't keep her hands off of it. And she's like, no, I'm going to put my print on it. Maybe that's not the case at all. Maybe this is all on Favreau and Filoni, and they just kind of laid an egg on this one. I don't know.
Yeah, but so guys, that this episode kind of ends with, not kind of ends, it ends with him making sure the other crime lords are not going to betray him to the Pikes, which of course I'm sure one of them will, and he gets that Wookiee. So why did I just went blank on his name? He's working with them now, and then he's gonna get Mando, clearly. But that's just kind of where it is. And unfortunately, at least for me, and I know for you, and for a lot of people, according to stats, this show, again, I just don't feel there was enough story to make the show. That's just the bottom line. There definitely was not enough story for 7 episodes. Um, some of these episodes to me have been okay, but that's kind of about as good as it gets. Like, there's not been a fantastic episode, and I don't know if it's really capable of having a fantastic episode, again, because of the lack of good story in this show, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, I don't know that it is either. I mean, I hope that maybe at least 1 or 2 of the episodes are good, but I think in the whole backdrop of what this has become, that's the best it's going to be, is
yeah.
basically a below average series that hopefully might have a really good episode or 2.
Yes, hopefully it ends well, is the best we can hope for, because
Yeah.
that's all they've kind of pushed it down without really I mean, if you really break down the present day situation in the show, we've there's been very little this far in. So it kind of is what it is. Michael, any final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I can say the only interesting character development I think they've done with Boba Fett, that we kind of didn't know about him, is when he sits down at the table and they're basically saying to him, "Why would we put our men and our necks on the line when the Pikes are really only invading your territory? Why would we do that?" And Boba says, "I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to simply let me do it, and when they come to you, stay neutral." So I thought that that was kind of a neat little character development, that it kind of shows us that Boba Fett isn't this guy that's asking for it. It's like he's still got that bounty hunter go it alone. Like, hey, I'll take care of it. I'm just asking you not to get in my way, and I'm just asking you to be neutral. So I thought that was a nice moving forward of his character. As far as his character being too nice, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that, but I did take that little nugget out of this episode.
Yeah, and what I took from it was the Mandalorian's theme music. That was what I took. Oh, a negative, I will say, again, every week there's something in the show that takes me out because it's just not Star Wars. The music that was playing when he was getting Fennec Shan fixed at that place, oh my gosh, it was so not Star Wars. It threw me out the second that music started playing, and it was like something, I don't know. It was a different sci-fi. It was not Star Wars. Do you know
Well,
what scene I'm
maybe
talking
that's
about?
why. Maybe that's why I didn't really pick up on that, but maybe that's why I felt like even the little mechanics and the whole little scene, I was like, this doesn't really feel super Star Warsy. And so I'll
No,
have when I
yeah.
watch it again with my boys, I'll pay attention to the music, and maybe that's it.
I mean, the look to me was a little more Blade Runner in itself, but the music just really took me out in that scene. It was just
Yeah,
so not Star Wars in any way. But yeah, but
yeah.
but yeah, that's kind of our thoughts, guys. At this point, I don't know if I'm gonna. Well, we'll see. We'll see if they can finish strong, and they really need to finish strong after what we've seen 4 episodes in. But what do you guys think? Share your thoughts below. And if you have not yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also, give the video a thumbs up. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to be a force of light. All right.